Okay, so welcome back. Today I will be attempting to start a bit of texture painting for this spider crab that I've been making for the last week or so. But before I get onto that, I thought I would just quickly show you a few enhancements that I've done in the last few days just to tidy up the eye area here where I've created these eye sockets. So I spent a bit of time re-sculpting these a little bit, and actually I'll show you a neat trick that I learned recently as well. If I hit Alt B and then just select this area here, it gives me a little sort of slice that I can use to hide the rest of the model, which makes life a lot easier when working on small areas like this. For example, I can have a look around the back and see what's going on inside much more easily, rather than sort of hiding individual faces like I was doing before. So this is a really neat, useful trick that I recommend. So what I've done basically is I spent a bit of time creating some extra rings of faces around some edges around the edge of the eye socket from before, and just pulling in, making it a bit more rounded, firming up the edge so that it looks a bit sharper. So if I go to object mode, you can see it looks a bit sharper around the edge, almost like a proper ridge there. And I've hollowed out a little sort of channel here for the eye stalk, and I've moved the eyes around a little bit so that they what I can do is actually hinge them with the animations so that they can sort of fold back into the eye socket here. Excuse me. In a little bit more, a little bit neater there. So that's cool. Also, what I've done is I've applied I applied the mirror modifier last time. If I hit Alt B now, which meant that when I was doing these adjustments, I needed to make sure that I duplicated it on both sides, which is a little bit of an annoyance. I should have really done that before I did the applied the mirror modifier, because what happens is it's fine if you've got the X mirror on. It's fine if you have a matching vertex or edge, say. So let's say if I move that around, you can see that it's it's pulling the same one on both sides. But if I created some geometry over here, I'd have to do the same over here. Otherwise, it doesn't automatically create extra geometry on the other side when you've got the X mirror on. It only does that if you've got the mirror modifier. I've still got the edge sharpening modifier, the edge split modifier applied, but I don't really need that particularly because I don't think I've marked anything as sharp. Actually, I have. I think I've marked some of the leg creases as sharp, but that's fine. Okay, so with all that done, slightly better geometry for the eyes. I had to redo the UV mapping, so I'll just show you really quickly what that looks like. It's basically exactly the same, and the eye sockets are a little bit more detailed now. That's the only difference really. But I just remapped it to more or less where it was before, so it's very similar to the way you saw it at the end of the last stream. But other than that, the only thing left to do really is to create a suitable workspace for texture painting, which I'm going to do straight into Blender here. So there's before I show you, well, in fact, what I'll do is I've created a texture painting setup, and I'll show you what that looks like here. So I've just reorganized the windows a little bit. I've brought in my reference image here, and I've given the crab a new material which I've called crab, and I've saved an image which is called crab color, I think. Where is it now? Yes, down here, crab color. So what I can do is I can make sure I save that image. When there's a little star here, you can see. I don't know why it's disappeared now. Okay, I seem to have somehow lost my image, which is a bit weird. Possibly I need to go to texture paint. There we go. There we go. That's how it works. And what I'm going to do is select that one there. Right. Okay, we're back to where we were. So this is all as a as a prelude to actually painting onto the model using the texture paint tools in Blender. But the way I got to this was I will show you. In fact, there's an excellent video, YouTube video, which I used to help me set this up by a guy called Darren Lyle. And this particular one is the character painting for Blender, and this is a slightly older version of Blender. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this into the chat so that you guys can use that later. If you watch back the video, you should be able to get that link from chat. Alternatively, feel free to do a search for Darren Lyle and Blender character texture painting. He goes through all the steps of setting up and the basics of texture painting. So I won't bore you with that. But what I will do is just chuck that into the chat there. So that's quite useful. So without any further ado, one thing I am going to do before I actually start painting is pull the specular intensity right down. So the crab has this black material because the texture is applied to it is just completely black, and I've added a hemispherical light to light it up. You can see that it's all nice and shiny and everything, but that makes it really hard to actually paint directly onto the model because it's hard to tell what you've painted and what you haven't. Especially if you're painting white on this black surface, you can tell it's not going to be very easy to see here. So I tend to just drop the specular intensity right down so that it's completely black, and you should be able to see what you're painting without any highlights or specular reflections or anything. So what I thought I would do initially is take the reference image here and just sample a decent colour. I mean, this is quite a bright red, but I think it will work all right if we do that. So let me hit S, which selects a sample colour, and it's quite a bright red here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually colour in the entire crab to start with, this one colour, and then I'm going to add the white speckly highlights onto it, where in a sort of random pattern. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the fill brush here. There's various brushes you can use. To start with, I'm going to use the fill brush, and I think it's just going to be a case of clicking. Yep, so that's basically filled in all of the pieces of the UV map connected to this crab, and you can see we've got a lovely red crab all over. One thing you've got to be a little bit careful of, sometimes it misses the occasional pixel. I don't think that's going to be a particular problem if that's the case, but we'll just make sure we have a look as we go around, when we're doing the rest of the painting, just to make sure that that's all working okay, and that I haven't missed any of the pixels, that the automatic fill hasn't missed any pixels. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this white here using S, and I'm going to just start basically painting on to the model. So let's see, so what I've got here is the brush, and I can change the size of the brush in and out with F, and I can change the strength by doing Shift F. And I think probably what I'm going to do is start reasonably, let's say, yeah, like that maybe, and start adding some texture to the claws and the legs. So what I think I might do actually to start with, so I don't accidentally paint on other claws, is use this little button down here, this face selection masking. So what happens there is that you can mask off certain areas, so it will only restrict your texture painting to just the individual islands in the UV plane here. So if I hover over the claw here and hit L, it just highlights that one claw. And now if I start painting, it's not going to paint over anything over there, but it will paint the oh, in fact, look, I'm still on the fill brush, so that was a terrible idea. But what I can do is come back over here, sample that colour there, and then just fill that. Let's go for a full. Let's do Shift F and go right up to 100%. There we go. And in fact, what I'm going to do is turn that off. Make sure that everything is the same colour. There we go. So let's try that again. Sample the colour that I want, and actually go to the text draw brush, and this will actually give me a brush that I can use to paint my texture. So let's shrink that down a little. I don't think we've sampled the right. I think when you sample the colour, it's assigned to each particular brush, I think. So yeah, you get a different sample for each brush. So this is just a simple brush with a sort of what if I go to F? You can see it's a sort of slightly fuzzy brush. I might make it a little bit different profile, which you can do with the curve down here. So you can see it just curves off like that. I think I'll start with this one, and I might end up with a slightly different version. You know, I might make it pointier or whatever, so that I've got a. In fact, yeah, I'm going to make it more like this, I think, so that it falls off more quickly and you get a slightly sharper edge. Maybe that one, yeah. So I'm going to do that one. So you should end up with a slightly sharper edge when I start painting. So let's start that off. So let's see, where does this guy have white? Well, he's got it all the way over this. The sort of pincery bit of this claw here, so let's go ahead and start there. So I'm just going to start painting on here. It's not reasonably rough to start with. Doesn't need to be super neat. Okay, let's go on the back side here. So caveat to this, I've only done this once before, so I'm likely to be pretty shoddy at it. So please be kind. And there's going to be a lot of iteration involved in this. The good thing about doing this art for organic creatures such as crabs is that you don't have to be too neat. It does, you know, there's going to be some slightly wonky edges and whatnot, especially this particular guy. He's got all these little patches here. So in fact what I might do is change the brush so that it's got a little bit of a different pattern jitter. Let's see, should I try the jitter? I might do that later actually, once I've got the basics down. Let's start on the back here. Shrink it down a little maybe. This is lagging a little bit because I'm doing the recording as well as using Blender, so this may not work brilliantly well. This might not be very smooth recording on the stream. See how it goes. A little bit bigger. Just actually, probably not a great idea, is it? Let's make it a bit smaller. There we go. Fall to be a little bit random with this. Yeah, I might want to get in a bit closer so that I don't end up accidentally creating seams like this. Got to his knee joint here. So here he's got like he's got a bit of a seam running through the middle here, so I'll probably add that in as detail later. almost looks like these guys have been spray painted anyway. Let's make sure I don't go too far over the edge. So what should happen is that when I've done this texturing, the basic colour, I'll go in and I'll add some normal map detail, which will create the look of the roughness and the spikiness of the carapace there, and that should help make it look a lot better as well. But this first pass is just going to be quite sort of rough. We'll add in some detail later on. So you can see here actually there's a line of pixels here that have not been caught by this the fill brush, and this is actually the where the seam is. And in fact, what you'll see is down here, those will be the pixels that are right along the edge here. And what's happening is, because the fill brush has filled it in exactly right up to the edge, when the rendering onto the model is performed by Blender, it will sort of interpolate across the gap, and so it's just sort of bleeding in a little bit of the dark pixels here, and so you'll see those coming through. But what will happen is we'll bake this out into a proper albedo map, and that will actually extend the colour along the edge here out into the black space here, and that should disappear. So I'm not going to worry too much about that just now. So I'm going to try and go a bit quicker, flesh this out a little bit. You can I could increase the strength of this. I don't want to do it too much at this stage. Just going to try and do it incrementally. Yeah, my laptop's really struggling with doing this texture painting and streaming at the same time. So let's see, where are we at? He's got various little blobs all the way around. In fact, yeah, let's do that. Let's make it a bit stronger. And I think, yeah, I'd like a sort of slightly lumpier looking look to this, but I think I might have to achieve that through carefully painting rather than any fancy brushes or anything. But we'll see how it goes. Yeah, that's a bit better. Slightly quicker by filling in a little bit stronger brush. This is going to look pretty dreadful for quite a while before I fine-tune it. I'm being pretty rough with it, just because you know, it's not going to need to be particularly neat. Given how random the patterning is on these crabs. Does rather look like he has been spray painted at this point. Okay, starting to get there. Okay, I think that will do for one leg. Let's try and do the next one. So I think you can just use the normal controls, so A to select and then L to select the isolated area there. Okay, let's do the grabby claw bit. fact what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the fill brush. Whoops, that's the wrong one. Fill brush, and I'm going to select just these areas here. I'm going to just fill that in. And that one. I'm going to do the same with the other one over here while I'm around. There we go. And back to the other brush. So there is a way of reorganizing the orbit of the camera, and I can't remember what the key shortcut is. So I'm just going to struggle on the old-fashioned way in the first instance. Tidy up the seam a little. There's an awful lot of fine-tuning and back and forth that you can do with this sort of texture painting. So it's, you know, yet another place where I can spend far too long. Okay, that's the basic colour for that. And we'll start working our way down the back side of this claw here. Up the back. I'm going to do one side and then the other, actually, I think. Make life a little bit easier. So you'll see that as I zoom in and out, the actual physical size of the brush on the in the window stays the same. So as I zoom out, I can actually paint larger areas, and when I zoom in, it will create sort of more detailed areas. So that enables you to, you know, you can paint a little bit quicker, maybe if you want to zoom out and cover larger areas. I want to keep it reasonably tight in here, just so that I don't create too many seams along the outside of the claw here. I have to go move underneath here. Yeah, like if I try and get a good view here. There we go. So let's start working our way back along the other side. This is going to take quite a while, to be fair, I think. I've done this slightly quicker than the first leg. Again, the advantage of the game that this is being made for, it's going to be sort of quite dark, you know, at the bottom of the sea. So it's going to hide a lot of the sort of wobbly edges. For some reason I've lost my. There we go. I think I might also have a quick look at the first crab image. Yeah, see this guy actually, he's got white all the way around the base. It's not as clear from this, but I think I might do that as well. So let's go in here and give him some white around the joints. So the normal way of making the camera orbit properly is to hit the period key, but it doesn't work for when you're in paint mode, because you end up centering on the whole model. Although that's actually helped a little bit in this case, so maybe that's not the worst thing to have done. There we go. That's good. I think it was Alt something. It's not Alt L or... No, I can't remember. I'll have to look that up. Actually, let me look it up real quick now. Center camera in texture paint mode. Object mode hotkeys. No, there's too many. Okay, let's not worry about that. Okay, I'm just going to carry on and struggle through. I'll find out offline, and then the next time I need to do this, I'll try and remember it. Okay, there we go. I might add some speckles overall to the whole thing later, but I'll do that with a slightly different technique. So let's do some. In fact, let's try it on this one here. So there's a neat thing you can do. So if I shrink this down, oh, I've just done there. Didn't want to do that. Let's resample that here. I accidentally hit S instead of F. That's what I wanted. So if I shrink that down a little, and then come down here and do use this jitter. I'm going to zoom in a bit and see if it works the way I intend. I think I need a bit more. Yeah, see, it scatters it around a little. Let's jitter it a bit more, and then I'm going to increase the spacing a little, and I'm going to shrink this down a wee bit. Yeah, there we go. Sort of, you end up with a sort of scattering of points. So that's going to be useful for adding a little bit of extra texture to the top side. You know, I could add some white splotches, or even some red splotches underneath. I think that's a bit too much jitter. Let's just bring it down, and I'm going to shrink this down a little. Whoops. There we go. Increase this a little bit more, actually. There we go. That's good. yeah, it just makes it a little bit rougher around the edges. That's cool. That's actually a not bad effect. And you can see it's adding the texture to this this particular panel here, which is this leg in the UV space. And of course, I could do it here. I could add my texture directly onto the UV map, but the problem there is you end up, particularly because I'm actually working on the seam, right along the edge of the seam here. You want it to cover both sides. You know, if there's a blob that's straddling the seam, just like this one here, actually, you can start to see the seam running along here. You want it to actually be bridge the gap across the seam. There we go. Yeah, it's looking a little better actually. I think I might continue to use this technique down the rest of this. I'll probably need to tidy it up, and in fact, let's make it a little stronger. Shift S. Pull it in a little bit. There we go. There we go. A bit more contrast there. Yeah, that's not bad actually. And in fact, I could use there's various other brushes that we've got available to us here. I could use like the smear brush, which is quite nice. You can sort of you know, come in here and sort of pull the textures around a bit. It's not being terribly effective actually. Strength. Oh, there we go. Let's bump the strength right up. Like you can actually drag bits of texture around like that. It sort of pulls it around. It makes it look a bit sort of smeary. It's not quite the effect I'm after, so I'm going to just carry on with my texture painting. But it gives you another way of manipulating the texture. I might do that a little bit later on. So how has this guy got his legs? So some of them are all a bit right on the end. So let's add a bit to the ends. Make it really small. Okay. You've probably worked out already by now that I'm not particularly good at texture painting. But all the magic will happen when I add the normal mapping from past experience. So let's just select that guy there, move on to the next leg. Shrink it down a little. Blocking out the rough colour really. It's going to take me quite a long time to to refine the look of this. As is usually my way, I go back and forth quite a bit, changing my mind, redoing things. I'll have to come and tidy this up a little bit later. Lost track of where I am now. There we go. Just work my way up the leg. Okay, let's try and get myself orientated again. To be fair, from a distance, he doesn't look too bad. Once I've done all the basics, I think he's going to look okay, and I'll start to add a few more details once the basic pattern is in place. There we go. Just chuck a little bit extra on there. Okay, next leg. A lot of people will obviously use something like Photoshop or whatever to just paint directly onto the texture here. I have literally no skill in using Photoshop at all. Could be argued that I have very little skill in using the texture painting mode in Blender, but at least I can paint directly onto the model, which has this advantage of being able to deal with the seams. I did choose a very complicated creature to do this with, to be fair. I don't know why I chose a spider crab, just like the look of it. The brief was for a deep sea creature that looked scary and could be supersized to make an interesting enemy to attack the player. And I like spider crabs. Okay. Next leg. Spider crabs have got many, many legs. I've ended up with a little bit of a straight edge here, so I'm going to come in and smear that around a bit later, I think. A few little random bits there. Cover that up. It's going to look very, very random, this guy. But that's fine. I'm happy with that. And of course, I'm also not using any sort of fancy stylus and tablet systems. I'm just using literally the mouse, which makes life a little bit more tricky, of course. This is my excuse anyway. I'm wondering about whether or not to invest in something like that. I guess it depends how much of this I'm going to do in the future. I'm sure it would help make life a little bit easier. If anyone's got any recommendations for tablet and stylus type systems, then please do let me know, because I wouldn't even know where to begin. Okay, getting there. Oh crikey, there's loads more legs to go. I think I'm going to spend the entire hour just painting legs. You know, it's getting there. It's already looking better than it did. In fact, what I might do just really quickly is just do the body. I'm going to make it much less strong, just to start adding a bit of texture just to the carapace. I'm going to find some better reference images than this, and to improve the look of the body somewhat. In fact, while I'm here, why don't I do the eyes? Because we can make some lovely black shiny eyes. I'm going to reduce the jitter, so if I remember that, 0.8, reduce that down to 0. I've done it again, there we go, S, sample thing, and I'm going to make this super strong, 100%, and I'm going to paint just the bulbous bit at the end here. Start with. In fact, I'm going to do it on the actual UV map here, because it'll make life a bit easier. I can actually come in and see exactly where the eye should be. I think it's going to be basically these polygons in here, where it's triangular. So if I just do that, hopefully that has more or less done what I need. Yeah, I mean, it's maybe this bit here could do with, there we go, just smooth that off, make it look a little rounder. Let's pull that across there. There we go, that's alright. That worked pretty well. And then this one over here as well, so Let's just make it nice and big to start with, get the broad areas in, and then come in and tidy up the edges. I think we're going to have the same situation here. Just going to cut across the corner. There we go. Does that look similar? Yep, looks pretty similar. Doesn't have to be perfect. Yeah, he's already looking. Well, I mean, he's looking a little blotchy, but yeah, I'll come in and tidy all that up and give him some lovely lumpiness and with the normal map. He's getting there. Okay, let's carry on with the legs. I don't know why it keeps doing that, it's super annoying. Although what I am going to do is hit Alt S to save the image while I'm here, and Control S to save the project. Okay, let's carry on with the legs. If I try and remember where I was with this, it was about 0.8, wasn't it? There we go. And I think what I want to do is yeah, resample my white colour here. So if I hit S on there to sample it, and F to increase the size a little, maybe a little smaller. Okay. Rough up the edge a little. So I don't know if there's a way of making the lighting a bit more overall. Possibly just moving the adding another hemisphere light perhaps might help. This will work, broadly speaking, in the first instance. Tell you what, I'm going to see what I can do with this. Swing the light round a little so I can see it from underneath. Yeah, it's a bit better, isn't it? It's a bit easier to see. In fact, if I duplicate this light and set it up the other way around as well, there we go, you've got two roughly opposite lights. Turn those off. Yeah, it's going to make life a little bit easier to see what's going on. Oops, I don't want to be doing weight painting, texture painting, that's what I want. And this keeps changing up here, which is super annoying. Okay, now I've got a bit better lighting. Okay. Another couple of legs to go. 3 more legs to go. What I might want to do is select all the legs and the body at the same time and just sort of blend the edges. But I mean, there's a natural seam around here anyway, so it might be all right to just leave it like that. See how it goes. Might change my mind. Sure, this is terribly interesting watching me painting on a crab. Okay, how's that? Not too bad. Whew. Okay. It's all quite therapeutic, really. Going to need to be an awful lot of tidying up of this when I come to add the details later. Okay. What I might need to do is just re-add some red splotches as well. So I think what I'm going to do is sample this colour, make the brush really tiny, select everything, show the underside, and let's see if we, yeah, really tiny. In fact, what I might do is do it on, that's not such a good idea. Let's do super huge jitter. Yeah, there we go. Just literally chuck it around. There we go. Just to add a bit of random scatter to his carapace there, and then I'm going to select the white again. Then randomly scatter a few all over him. Okay, and then I think what I might do is underneath as well. That may be a bit too much there. Let's go back to the red. So I think there's probably, I mean, that's actually not, it looks dreadful up close. Oh hey, Raytex23, I take it you're one of the club members. I don't know which one you are. Apologies. Thanks for dropping by. So I think what I might do... Oh, hey, Remy. Great to see you. Let's sample that and make it a little less strong. Make it, oh, what am I doing here? Make it super big, then I can make it a little fainter. Shrink it right down again. There we go. Add a little bit more subtlety, perhaps, to the crab textures there. Sample this actually. Just add some more random white areas to the legs. I'm basically just trying to mix up a little bit of the red and a little bit of the white, just to try and sort of make him a bit blotchier, really. Hopefully we'll end up with something that looks a little bit more... Oh, you see what I've done here? I've accidentally painted on his eyes, which I should have unselected those. Let's just redo those. Silly me. Oh dear, that's a bad idea. I've also left the jitter right up. I need to remember to reduce that down, so there's no jitter. better. Fixed up his eyes again. Got to be careful with that. Cool, that's a bit better. Right, what's the best plan now? I think if I can maybe do a bit of smearing. Soften, fill, mask, clone. Let's do some smearing, and let's do it sort of half strength. And let's see what it looks like. That sort of profile, perhaps. Again, let's just sort of randomly scatter around and see what we end up with. Just to try and kind of make these circles look a little less circular. Might make the strength a little higher. I wonder if I jitter that as well. I wonder if that's gonna. Oh yeah, okay. Ah, we're getting somewhere. This is gonna be interesting. Let's increase the spacing a little. I'm just playing around with these now, really, because I haven't really played with the smear too much. Okay, yeah, this is interesting. Certainly going to make it look a little bit more random, so that's cool. It's more or less what I'm after. I have no particular plan for this. It's just a case of just mess around with it until it looks kind of like the texturing of a spider crab. And then add the normal map, which will make him look all rough and kind of lumpy, which will really help bring him alive. So let's see if I can unselect the eyes. What do we reckon? Shift L? Shift L, perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. Ideal. Scatter around a little. What effect am I having? Any at all? Yeah, a little bit. I think there's probably some much more subtle shading I can do on the underside, but if I get the basic sort of randomness done early doors, I think maybe the scatter's a bit too high. What do we think? Try that. How's that? A little better? Yep. Maybe reduce the spacing a little. Yeah, it's cool. I've gone on more than an hour here, but I think if I can just get to a point where it's looking a little more random, then I'll probably call it a day shortly, and then pick it up and try and add some more of the details, like the dark areas around the joints and underneath the mouth area here, and I'll find a better reference image for the underside, I think, so I can better texture the belly area, because I don't think this is particularly good at the moment, so I'm not worried too much about what that looks like right now. actually the top is not looking too bad. It's nice and blotchy. I think what I'm going to do is leave it there for today, and hopefully do another stream during the week. Certainly if I don't manage it before Wednesday, I'll be doing another stream on Wednesday. He does rather look like he's just fallen in a pot of paint, but we'll get there. There we go. Just line him up with the picture there. Doesn't look too dissimilar. I mean, this is actually a little bit more orange. This is a little bit redder, but perhaps we can do something about that. In fact, you can see I've gone over his eye again here somehow. Not sure how I've managed that. Strength. There we go. Just tidy that up again. I suspect I'll be doing that a lot. Redoing his eyes. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed that, I hope to see you again on another stream in due course. So hopefully it'll be before Wednesday, but if not, then it'll certainly be Wednesday afternoon UK time, so whenever that happens to be in your time zone. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you in the next stream.